Hi everyone, another Broken Meeple review, and Azul, yeah, if you're into games, you know about Azul, okay? It's not like I need to explain much. But if you're very new to gaming, then Azul was a gateway game that came out a couple of years ago and took the gaming industry by storm. So much so that it is still in my collection, the original Azul. This was an abstract tile laying game where essentially you collected these tiles by drafting them off these different tiles in the middle, different colors, and the drafting aspect was fun. You had to put them on a mosaic thing in front of you, and you could screw other players out. You got points by completing rows and columns. Sounds very simplistic, but it was just very addictive, very quick, and very simple. It just appealed to even gamers and newbies alike, and it's why I recommend it as one of the great gateway games of modern days. Well, there's been now 2 further iterations for this, and I have on occasion said it does feel a little bit like cash grabbing.
Cash grab!
Well, take that for what it's worth. You know, I feel like the original Azul was great, and now suddenly you've got 2 more doing pretty much the same thing. Feels a little bit weird. Can we have new ideas? But the other one, Stained Glass of Sintra, not a fan of that one. It took the randomness that was already in the normal Azul and cranked it up to 11, you know, while having this fiddly system with the windows and basically just making it so that if the luck didn't go your way, you were screwed. You had no way of getting out. Some people say it's their favourite one. I am not entirely certain how that's like a possible thing. You know, I mean, most people complain about having too much randomness and yet they like the Sintra one. I don't get it. But this one is the next one in line, Summer Pavilion. Now, instead of squares and instead of triangles and whatever else you were doing, now you've got rhombuses. You've got, rhombuses of all the different colours, all these lovely baked-like tiles. And again, it's that same thing of you're trying to, place them on your board, tiles on a board. It's an abstract game. But with this one, you're still using the same drafting mechanic where you've got the mosaic tiles in the middle. But there's some extra mechanics thrown in there where if you complete certain, effectively like these stars, then you can get bonuses which get you more tiles. You're allowed to save tiles from round to round, which you couldn't do before. And each round of the 6 that are in this game is a fixed time limit. They are joker tiles, which change color as you go through, and it tells you what color it's going to be, which can be used as any color, but they're harder to draft. So there's a little bit more going on in this one compared to the other Azuls, but not so much that it complicates it more. But there's one thing I have to say before I get into this review. This one is a decent game. Slight spoiler alert, but would I play this one? Or would I play the original one? Obviously I wouldn't play Stained Glass of Sintra. Both are pretty solid games. So which one would I play? This one. Why is that? Let's get into some more detail. Firstly, the duration. Well, we got to start with the kicker straight away, haven't we? The duration is the thing that kills this one for me. Absolutely stone dead kills this game for me. The game itself, as we'll get onto in a minute, has a lot of good pros. But here's the biggest problem. It takes too long. The original Azul is like a 30-minute affair. With 4 players, you're talking 40 minutes tops. You should be done with the original Azul. Nice and quick, even though it's variable game length. And everything, in the scoring is simultaneous. Everybody just does the tiles, moves them onto their mosaic, scores points on their own little track, and then you're ready to get the next round underway. But obviously the drafting is done in turn order, but that doesn't take too long for people to make up their minds with that. Stained Glass of Sintra had a similar deal, although it was a little bit slower. This one is the slowest of the 3 because nothing is simultaneous in this. You have the drafting aspect, which is obviously in turn order, but then even the scoring is in turn order because as you complete, your various star patterns on here, basically you have to do each bit that you're doing, each one that you fill, one at a time. And the idea is that they've got numbers on them. So some need 2 tiles, some need 3, some need 4. But you have to do it one at a time because as you fill in the entire star, or certain areas of it anyway, there's other symbols on your board that give you a bonus tile. And on the center board, there will be tiles laid around this giant star where you can take a tile from there and use it as a bonus for something else. Okay, that mechanically is cool. But because you're taking it from there and they replenish, it means you can't do it simultaneously because obviously other players are gunning for this central tile board. And as soon as you make everything turn-based, it pretty much doubles the length of the game. The first time I played this at Essen, it took nearly 90 minutes, somewhere between 75 and 90 minutes to learn and play the game. That is too long for Azul. I am sorry. Now, with obviously, that's a convention setting. Convention games tend to take longer anyway because of all the distractions around you. And obviously, we were learning it for the first time. But I pick up games pretty quickly. And this is Azul. It's not exactly rocket science. But, you know, obviously for someone like me who's played a lot of games, obviously for a new player it might take a bit longer. But it's not that complicated. And even if you've got the rules down, you just get straight into it, the game will easily take more than an hour to play with 4 players. Less so with, you know, less players, but even then, it means that every time you play this version, you're taking twice as long to play it as the other version. Azul's meant to be a quick game, this is just simply too long. You know, because about halfway through it, I'm like, God blimey, we're only on round 4, we still got 2 more rounds left. I feel like the game should have ended by now. And it should have done. Now, for some of you out there, you're not too big, you know, you don't have a problem with game length, as long as you're having a ball. And that's fine. I mean, it's still enjoyable, but, you know, the idea that you could move on to a different game would still be fun, and the downtime can be a bit of an annoyance, because obviously you've got to wait for everybody to do their turn in the draft, but then you've also got to wait for other people to do their turn in the scoring, and they'll be like, well, hang on, if I put that tile there, that surrounds that, I get that little bonus, and then I can get that bonus tile, which then would allow me to do this. While they're thinking of that, you are sitting there basically just going,
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
big killer for me. It might not be such a problem for you, but bear it in mind, this is easily the longest of the 3 Azuls. So, on to ease of play. Right, let's get on to something a bit more positive. It's an easy one to play. Yes, okay, the original Azul is going to be the easiest one to play, but none of the Azuls have ever been particularly complicated, although the window scoring in that one is a little bit fiddly in Sintra. But with this one, it's actually relatively straightforward and easy to get into. I mean, if you know how to play Azul, you will get into this, like, in seconds. It really won't take you that long. You know, you've just got to learn those little additional rules, the bonus aspect. Other than that, the drafting's exactly the same, as it always in an Azul, hence the term I went for cash grab. It felt like it was a bit too similar, but with this, it's an easy one. All you've got to know is you've got the jokers, tells you on here what it is, you've got scoring for the different stars that you fill in, down there, nice and easy, score track, it's already self-explanatory, and there's some bonus points for completing like certain numbers on your thing, and that's about it really. Oh yeah, and you can save up to 4 rhombuses in the corner of the board from round to round. Easy. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, and how to claim jokers from the draft pool. That's it. There's like about 4 or 5 new, very small rule changes that you need to learn, and then you're away. So anybody who's already familiar with Azul is easily going to get into this, but there is no reason why you couldn't really teach this to someone brand new if they've not played any of the Azuls. It's not like it's going to really complicate matters for them, but if you want to keep things really simple, maybe stick with the original. But as I said, not a very complex game. The rulebook's easy to follow. It's basically the same ease of play as the other Azuls. You know, none of them are particularly complex. That's what makes this a very decent gateway game series. So, T for tactics and strategy, this is where it improves a bit over the original Azul. I said that the duration for me is a bit of a killer, but I have to accept that this one is mechanically more interesting than the other Azuls. Because firstly, being able to save tiles from round to the next round. I cannot tell you how useful that is and how you would wish you could do that in previous games. But it gives you the opportunity to plan ahead, particularly for the jokers. Because you might think, well, I don't really need greens, but ooh, greens joker next round. Could take that big batch of greens, you know, right now, it's easily there. And then next round, I've got 4 jokers sitting on my board that I've already got from the previous round. It's a neat little twist, and it really does open up some decent tactical play. The bonuses that you can get to basically claim from this central board, again, is a nice touch because it gives you access to colours that might not already be there in the draft phase. The first player token. And this is probably, actually I would probably say this is the best new change. In the old versions, if you took the first player thing, you went first next round, but you basically got negative points based on when you took it, whoopie-doo. But this one is a bit different. Because this time, when you take the first player token, you take negative points based on how many tiles you take when you take the token. That's really cool, because not only do you have the downside of taking negative tokens, but a lot of the times when people take that first player token in the past, it's because there's this huge ton of tiles in the middle, and it's like, yay, I get 5 blues, no problem. Oh, -1 point. What a shame. Oh no, that's going to kill me later. It's a bit more than -1 in this game, mate. You know, it really can hose you. I can't remember the exact thing. I think it's like -1 for each tile you take. So yeah, you go and take that like big pile of tiles. You're going to lose 4 or 5 points as a result, though, and that's a bit more of a kick in the teeth than -1 that you might have had in the past. Very small change, but it's so good. I almost want to house rule it into the original Azul, because it's just a nice little extra tactical element, because now people aren't just gunning for the first player token willy-nilly. It's like, oh, I don't know, that's a lot of points I'm going to lose, but I really need those greens. You know, and that's a cool like aspect of the decision making. So aesthetics, it looks great. I mean, personally, I still kind of prefer the original mosaic tiles. The Sintra, like those see-through ones, are nice, but it's a bit difficult to change, like distinguish some of the colors a little bit at times. And certainly in bad lighting, it can be a problem. Here, you know, they're very clear. They've got symbols on them for color blindness, which is a nice touch. Although the symbols are a little similar to each other, so even if you are colorblind, you might struggle a little bit with some of these. But you know, they're nicely printed on the tile, so it does make it more approachable to that type of gamer. But it's the same cool plastic. They feel good. They're chunky. You've got the drawstring bag, which is always good. The boards are... The central board is decent. These are still flimsy card, but oh well, never mind, you can't have everything. And you do get another one of these giant, kind of ridiculous towers to put the discarded tiles in, which, like I say, it's not a bad thing. It's certainly better than the one you got in Sintra, and, you know, even stores some of the bait-like tiles when you're trying to pop it back in the box. And yet, everything fits back in without a problem. So, aesthetics, for the price you're paying for this, still pretty solid, still really good components, nice colours, can't complain. Immersion of theme, we can pretty much gloss past this one. There is no theme. Alright, there's no theme in this game at all. It is a straight up abstract game. But you are engaged in those tactical elements. You are thinking with, like, you know, am I going to fill this one out first? Do I move on there? Hang on, am I missing the yellows? I need to find out how many yellows are out there. You are going to be thinking from turn to turn, but you're not here for the thematic element. You're basically here for, you know, the tactical draft and the whole building of, like, nice colourful things on your board, you know, as you were with the previous Azuls. So longevity... This one will stand the test of time because of the mechanical elements, but the fear I have with this one is really going to come down to that whole duration thing. You're probably not going to play multiple games in a row, though. With the original Azul, you could, and I've done that on occasion, where we've played one game and somebody goes, I want to play that again, I want to play that again, and we do. And I've even done one time when we did 3 in a row, and at game cafe events where I've been teaching games, people have just taken Azul off the shelf like crazy and played it. I can't see that happening with this one, though, because for how long it takes, once you've played one game of this, you're kind of done. And so it doesn't lend itself well to repeat plays. But I think that if you enjoy this, it's going to stay on your shelf for some considerable time. So my final word is that Azul Summer Pavilion is a solid entry into the Azul lineup, with the same great aesthetics and tactical gameplay that we've come to respect in this classic gateway game. Unfortunately, for some, it's going to prove a little bit too long to play when compared with the simplicity of the original. So you're kind of just going to have to pick your poison with this one. You know, do you mind the length? If so, go for the original. Do you not mind the length? Go for this one, because I do think that mechanically this one is better. You know, if you're asking me to sort of go, right, both of them take 60 minutes to play, I'd still think that's a bit long, actually. All right, let's say both of them could take 30 minutes to play. No problems, regardless of which one you pick, this one or the other is all, the lid's all the way over there, but, you know, this one or this one. Do you want to play this one or this one? If they both take 30 minutes, I'd pick this one hands down. It would not be another choice. But because one's 30 minutes and the other one's like 60 plus, I'm going to hang on to the original and probably let this one go. But, you know, if somebody said, do you want to play Summer Pavilion? I would not turn around and say, no, you know, not going to happen. Because I still think it's a solid game. So for me, I'm still going to give this one about the same rating as I gave the original Azul. I mean, my rating for the original Azul's probably gone up, because I think I originally gave it a 7. I could probably give it an 8 now, or at least a high 7. You know, I still think it's my favorite, but I'm still going to give this one a seal of endorsement and give it a 7 out of 10. It's still a solid entry. It's still a good game in its own right, and I understand that the duration aspect is more my personal thing than it is other people's, but I still think that for a gateway game that needs to be dirt simple, it's better to be shorter than longer. It's just the way I feel about it. But for a lot of you, that might not be a problem, and certainly I have to give it props that the new Azul is probably the best mechanically out of all of them. So it's not one that I would say no to playing, it's just not one that I would choose to keep, if that makes sense. So 7 out of 10 with a seal of endorsement. Definitely recommend it, especially if you're already a fan of Azul. If you've got the original and Sintra, you're picking this one while you're even watching this video. But if you're trying to cherry pick your favorite, then hopefully you can figure out which Azul is best for you. Although, I still recommend that it's probably one of those essential abstract games that everybody should have at least one of in their collection. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple review, and regardless of whether you're covering my board with squares, circles, rhombuses, whatever shape they choose to make next, it's still only a game. Although perhaps, do we really need a 4th Azul? Can we move on now? Yeah, that's just me. So take care, I'll see you next time.